Welcome back to our chilling series exploring the haunted corners of American history, where the scars of conflict continue to bleed into the present. In this fourth installment of Most Haunted Civil War Sites in the United States, we delve deeper into the shadows cast by one of the nation's most devastating chapters, the Civil War. From blood-soaked battlefields to abandoned hospitals and eerie prisons, these sites bear witness to unimaginable suffering, loss, and sacrifice. Yet, they are not merely relics of the past. They are places where the echoes of war refuse to fade, where the spirits of soldiers and civilians linger, tethered to the land by unresolved pain and unfinished stories. The Civil War, fought from 1861 to 1865, tore apart families, communities, and an entire nation. Its battles claimed over 600,000 lives, leaving behind a legacy of grief that haunts us still. But beyond the historical accounts and memorials lies another dimension, one steeped in ghostly legends, spectral encounters, and unexplained phenomena. These haunted sites serve as portals to the past, where the line between the living and the dead blurs, and where voices long silenced demand to be heard. In this episode, we'll journey to some of the most infamous haunted locations tied to the Civil War, places steeped in lore and fear, where the past refuses to stay buried. We'll peer into the shadowy depths of battlefields where thousands fell, explore eerie mansions turned into makeshift hospitals, and tread cautiously through abandoned prisons teeming with restless spirits. Along the way, we'll hear first-hand accounts from witnesses brave enough to confront the unknown, examine chilling evidence captured by paranormal investigators, and unravel the tragic histories that give rise to these hauntings. So dim the lights, keep your ears sharp, and prepare yourself for a descent into the macabre. As we step into the haunted heart of America's Civil War history, remember, sometimes, the most terrifying truths lie just beyond the veil, and once you cross it, there's no turning back. Gettysburg Battlefield, the eternal struggle. Few places in the United States carry the weight of history quite like the Gettysburg Battlefield. Spanning over 6,000 acres in Pennsylvania, this hallowed ground was the site of one of the bloodiest and most pivotal battles of the Civil War, fought from July 1 to July 3, 1863. It is here that Union and Confederate forces clashed in a brutal struggle that left over 50,000 men dead, wounded, or missing. The Battle of Gettysburg marked a turning point in the war, but its cost was staggering, a toll paid not only in lives but also in the enduring trauma etched into the landscape itself. Today, visitors report ghostly apparitions, disembodied voices, and other inexplicable phenomena, as though the battlefield remains alive with the anguish of those who perished there. One of the most persistent legends tied to Gettysburg involves the Devil's Den, a rocky outcrop that served as a strategic position during the battle. On the second day of fighting, Confederate sharpshooters used the boulders as cover, engaging Union troops in fierce combat. Decades later, visitors exploring the area have reported seeing shadowy figures crouched among the rocks, their forms flickering in and out of sight. Others describe hearing faint gunshots and the clatter of musket fire, even though no reenactments are taking place nearby. One particularly chilling account comes from a park ranger who swore he saw a soldier in tattered gray uniform reloading his rifle, only for the figure to vanish when approached. Another haunting hotspot within the battlefield is Little Round Top, a hill that played a crucial role in the Union's defense. On July 2, 1863, Colonel Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain led the 20th Maine Regiment in a daring bayonet charge that repelled Confederate forces attempting to seize the high ground. Visitors to Little Round Top often report feeling an overwhelming sense of dread, as though unseen eyes are watching their every move. Shadows flit across peripheral vision, disappearing when directly observed. Some claim to hear disembodied voices shouting orders or calling out names unfamiliar to modern ears, believed to be the cries of soldiers still locked in battle. Others report seeing apparitions of men in blue uniforms standing silently amidst the trees, their faces gaunt and weary. The battlefield's hospital tents, hastily erected to treat the wounded, have also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Historical records indicate that conditions were dire, with overcrowding, poor sanitation, and limited medical supplies exacerbating the suffering of patients. Decades later, visitors exploring the fields report hearing faint moans and cries emanating from the grassy expanse. Some claim to see shadowy figures huddled in the corners, their faces obscured by darkness, while others describe feeling an oppressive weight pressing down on them as they approach certain areas. One particularly unnerving incident involved a tourist who swore he saw a young boy playing with marbles near what was once a field hospital, only for the child to disappear when approached. Theories abound that the boy may have been a drummer boy or messenger, forever trapped in the confines of the battlefield. Paranormal investigators exploring Gettysburg have documented numerous instances of unexplained phenomena. EMF detectors routinely spike in certain areas, particularly near Devil's Den and Little Round Top. EVP recordings capture faint whispers pleading for help, interspersed with anguished cries. One investigator captured a chilling photograph of a translucent figure standing atop the rocks at Devil's Den, its hands raised as if begging for mercy. These findings have solidified Gettysburg's reputation as one of the most active haunted sites in the United States. Despite, or perhaps because of, its grim history, Gettysburg continues to attract curious souls eager to confront its spectral inhabitants. For many, visiting the site serves as both a pilgrimage and a reckoning, an opportunity to honor the lives lost and acknowledge the sacrifices made in pursuit of unity. Whether you're drawn by the allure of its haunting beauty or the weight of its tragic legacy, Gettysburg offers an unforgettable experience where the past refuses to fade quietly into oblivion. Andersonville Prison, a legacy of suffering nestled deep in the rural countryside of Georgia, Andersonville Prison stands as a grim reminder of the horrors endured by prisoners of war during the Civil War. Officially known as Camp Sumter, this Confederate prison operated from February 1864 to April 1865, housing over 45,000 Union soldiers under deplorable conditions. Designed to hold just 10,000 men, the camp quickly became overcrowded, leading to widespread disease, starvation, and death. By the time it closed, nearly 13,000 prisoners had perished within its walls, their bodies buried in mass graves outside the stockade. Today, Andersonville remains one of the most haunted Civil War sites in the nation, its grounds said to be haunted by the tormented spirits of those who suffered and died there. One of the most pervasive legends tied to Andersonville involves the stockade ghost, a spectral figure believed to wander the perimeter of the prison. According to local lore, this apparition belongs to a Union soldier who attempted to escape but was recaptured and executed by Confederate guards. Witnesses describe seeing a gaunt man in tattered blue uniform pacing anxiously near the reconstructed stockade walls, his hollow eyes fixed on some unseen point in the distance. Others report hearing faint footsteps crunching through the dirt, accompanied by the rattle of chains, as though someone is dragging invisible shackles behind them. One particularly chilling encounter occurred when a visitor swore she felt icy fingers brush against her arm, followed by a whispered plea. "Help me!" Another haunting figure associated with Andersonville is believed to be Captain Henry Wirz, the commandant of the prison and the only Confederate officer executed for war crimes after the conflict ended. Wirz oversaw the camp during its darkest days, accused of neglecting prisoners and failing to provide adequate food, water, and medical care. His execution in November 1865 did little to quell the outrage surrounding his actions. Visitors to Andersonville report seeing a tall, imposing man clad in Confederate attire walking the grounds, his presence often accompanied by the faint rustle of fabric and the smell of gunpowder. Some speculate that Wirz lingers due to guilt or defiance, unable, or unwilling, to part ways with the site of his infamy. The prison cemetery, located just outside the main compound, has also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Visitors walking among the weathered headstones often feel an inexplicable sense of dread, as though unseen eyes are watching their every move. Shadows flit across peripheral vision, disappearing when directly observed. Some claim to hear disembodied voices calling out names unfamiliar to modern ears, believed to be the voices of soldiers and civilians buried without proper markers. Others report seeing apparitions of men and women in period clothing, their faces gaunt and weary, standing silently amidst the graves. Paranormal investigators exploring Andersonville have documented numerous instances of unexplained phenomena. EMF detectors routinely spike in certain areas, particularly near the reconstructed stockade and the cemetery. EVP recordings capture faint whispers pleading for help, interspersed with anguished cries. One investigator captured a chilling photograph of a translucent figure standing motionless at the edge of the stockade, its hands raised as if begging for mercy. The Myrtles Plantation, whispers beneath the antebellum veil perched along the banks of the Mississippi River in St. Francisville, Louisiana. The Myrtles Plantation stands as a testament to the opulence and cruelty of the antebellum South. Built in 1796, this grand estate served as both a family home and a working plantation, relying heavily on the forced labor of enslaved Africans to maintain its prosperity. Its elegant facade, sprawling gardens, and intricate woodwork evoke a sense of timeless grace, yet beneath its polished veneer lies a darker narrative, one steeped in murder, betrayal, and vengeful spirits unwilling to fade into obscurity. One of the most enduring legends tied to the Myrtles Plantation revolves around Chloe, an enslaved woman who worked as a house servant during the early 19th century. According to local lore, Chloe was caught eavesdropping on private conversations between the plantation owner, Clark Woodruff, and his guests. As punishment, Woodruff ordered her ear cut off, branding her forever as a thief. Seeking revenge, Chloe allegedly poisoned a cake intended for Woodruff's family, killing 2 of his children and his wife. When her role in the tragedy was discovered, Chloe was hanged from a tree on the property. Her ghost is said to haunt the plantation, appearing as a woman in a green turban, her severed ear visible beneath the fabric. Visitors report seeing her gliding silently through the halls, her movements deliberate and mechanical, as though still performing phantom chores. Another prominent figure in the plantation's haunted lore is believed to be William Drew Winter, a lawyer who purchased the property in the mid-1800s. Winter lived at the Myrtles with his wife, Sarah, and their 6 children until tragedy struck in 1871. According to historical accounts, Winter was shot and killed on the front porch by an unknown assailant. As he lay dying, he staggered inside, climbing the staircase and collapsing on the 17th step. Since then, visitors have reported hearing the sound of footsteps ascending the stairs, followed by a deafening thud, as though someone has fallen again. Others describe seeing a pale man staring mournfully out of upstairs windows, his expression frozen in eternal anguish. Adding to the plantation's haunted allure are the countless gatherings and celebrations that took place within its walls during its heyday. Many believe residual energy from these events remains trapped within the adobe framework, manifesting as phantom sounds of laughter, music, and conversation. At night, when the mansion is bathed in moonlight, some visitors swear they can hear the distant strains of a piano and the low murmur of revelry, as though a party from another era continues to unfold. Paranormal investigators exploring the Myrtles Plantation have captured compelling evidence of its supernatural activity. Thermal cameras reveal cold spots concentrated near the staircase and the balcony railing, where many of the tragedies unfolded. Audio recordings pick up fragmented phrases like "help me" and "don't let go," delivered in tones of sheer desperation. One particularly unsettling discovery came when a team member set up motion-activated cameras overnight, capturing footage of a translucent figure standing motionless at the midpoint of the staircase before vanishing without explanation. Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, the Myrtles Plantation remains a popular destination for tourists and locals alike. Its picturesque setting and rich history make it a favorite spot for photography and leisurely strolls. For those brave enough to venture inside after dark, the promise of encountering Chloe or one of the countless other spirits said to linger adds an element of fascination and trepidation. Yet, as each new visitor steps onto the creaking floorboards, they must ask themselves, are they prepared to face the echoes of the past, or will they become another chapter in the mansion's macabre legacy? Antietam National Battlefield, blood-stained ground deep in the rolling hills of Maryland, shrouded by mist and memory, lies Antietam National Battlefield, a solemn memorial to the deadliest single-day battle in American history. Fought on September 17, 1862, the Battle of Antietam saw Union and Confederate forces clash in a brutal struggle that left over 23,000 men dead, wounded, or missing. Known as the bloodiest day, the battle marked a pivotal moment in the Civil War, halting General Robert E. Lee's first invasion of the North and paving the way for President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. Yet, the horrors of that day linger still, haunting the fields and woods where so much blood was spilled. Visitors to Antietam report ghostly apparitions, disembodied voices, and other inexplicable phenomena, as though the battlefield remains alive with the anguish of those who perished there. One of the most persistent legends tied to Antietam involves the cornfield, a swath of farmland that changed hands multiple times during the battle. Soldiers from both sides surged forward and retreated repeatedly, leaving behind piles of bodies amidst the stalks of corn. Decades later, visitors exploring the area have reported seeing shadowy figures crouched among the crops, their forms flickering in and out of sight. Others describe hearing faint gunshots and the clatter of musket fire, even though no reenactments are taking place nearby. One particularly chilling account comes from a park ranger who swore he saw a soldier in tattered gray uniform reloading his rifle, only for the figure to vanish when approached. Another haunting hotspot within the battlefield is Bloody Lane, a sunken road that earned its name during the battle. For hours, Union and Confederate troops exchanged fire across this narrow trench, resulting in horrific casualties. Visitors to Bloody Lane often report feeling an overwhelming sense of dread, as though unseen eyes are watching their every move. Shadows flit across peripheral vision, disappearing when directly observed. Some claim to hear disembodied voices shouting orders or calling out names unfamiliar to modern ears, believed to be the cries of soldiers still locked in battle. Others report seeing apparitions of men in blue uniforms standing silently amidst the trees, their faces gaunt and weary. The battlefield's hospital tents, hastily erected to treat the wounded, have also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Historical records indicate that conditions were dire, with overcrowding, poor sanitation, and limited medical supplies exacerbating the suffering of patients. Decades later, visitors exploring the fields report hearing faint moans and cries emanating from the grassy expanse. Some claim to see shadowy figures huddled in the corners, their faces obscured by darkness, while others describe feeling an oppressive weight pressing down on them as they approach certain areas. One particularly unnerving incident involved a tourist who swore he saw a young boy playing with marbles near what was once a field hospital, only for the child to disappear when approached. Theories abound that the boy may have been a drummer boy or messenger, forever trapped in the confines of the battlefield. Paranormal investigators exploring Antietam have documented numerous instances of unexplained phenomena. EMF detectors routinely spike in certain areas, particularly near the cornfield and Bloody Lane. EVP recordings capture faint whispers pleading for help, interspersed with anguished cries. One investigator captured a chilling photograph of a translucent figure standing atop the rocks at Devil's Den, its hands raised as if begging for mercy. These findings have solidified Antietam's reputation as one of the most active haunted sites in the United States. Despite, or perhaps because of, its grim history, Antietam continues to attract curious souls eager to confront its spectral inhabitants. For many, visiting the site serves as both a pilgrimage and a reckoning, an opportunity to honor the lives lost and acknowledge the sacrifices made in pursuit of unity. Whether you're drawn by the allure of its haunting beauty or the weight of its tragic legacy, Antietam offers an unforgettable experience where the past refuses to fade quietly into oblivion. As we traverse the haunted landscapes of Civil War sites, from the blood-soaked fields of Gettysburg to the somber grounds of Andersonville, striking similarities emerge that transcend individual locations and histories. These patterns are not merely coincidental but reflect universal themes of human emotion, unresolved trauma, and the enduring power of memory. From the wailing wards of hospitals to the shadowed basements of monuments, these sites share a commonality that binds them together in a spectral sisterhood of sorrow and suspense. One recurring motif is the concept of unfinished business. Whether it's the victims of unethical experiments, or the betrayed trust of patients subjected to inhumane treatments, these spirits seem tethered to the earthly realm by grievances left unaddressed. Their presence manifests as restless energy, often communicated through auditory phenomena, cries, whispers, or disembodied voices, that serve as pleas for acknowledgement or closure. This theme resonates across cultures and belief systems, reflecting humanity's innate need to resolve conflict and seek peace, even in death. Another shared characteristic is the role of architecture in amplifying paranormal activity. Historic buildings, with their labyrinthine corridors, thick walls, and hidden alcoves create environments conducive to isolating individuals and heightening fear. These structural elements act as metaphors for the psychological barriers erected by those who suffered within their confines, trapping emotions such as anger, despair, and regret. It's no coincidence that many reported hauntings occur in spaces imbued with emotional significance: operating rooms where surgeries went awry, basements where bodies were stored, or wards where patients met tragic ends. Lighting and sensory manipulation also feature prominently in these narratives. Flickering lights, sudden temperature drops, and inexplicable odors are staples of ghostly encounters, designed to disorient and unsettle. Such phenomena strip away the comfort of familiarity, forcing guests to confront the unknown. The use of mirrors, a recurring element in stories from various haunted hospitals, adds another layer of psychological tension, as reflections distort perception and blur the boundary between self and other. This interplay of light and shadow becomes a tool wielded by unseen forces, creating moments of visceral terror that linger long after the initial shock subsides. Finally, the prevalence of historical context cannot be overstated. Each location's haunting is deeply rooted in its unique past, shaped by the socio-cultural milieu of its time. The brutal medical practices embedded in the DNA of older establishments contrast sharply with the glamorous yet tragic lives immortalized in urban legends. Yet both narratives tap into broader archetypes of ambition, betrayal, and mortality, ensuring their resonance with audiences regardless of personal experience. By drawing on these universal motifs, these haunted places transform from mere buildings into living repositories of collective memory, inviting us to peer into the abyss of our shared humanity. Thus, while each establishment boasts its own distinct flavor of fright, the underlying threads connecting them reveal a tapestry rich with meaning. These patterns remind us that the supernatural is not so much about the entities themselves but the stories they tell, the echoes of lives interrupted, passions extinguished, and truths obscured. As we continue to explore these haunted locales, we find ourselves grappling not only with the specters of the past but with the timeless questions they raise about life, death, and everything in between. The psychology of fear. Why haunted Civil War sites captivate us? What is it about haunted Civil War sites that grips our imaginations so profoundly? Beyond the creaking floorboards and flickering lights lies a deeper allure, one rooted in the psychology of fear and the human fascination with the unknown. These sites, by their very nature, are places of vulnerability. They are where we confront our mortality, stripped of autonomy and control, relying entirely on the expertise of others to heal us, or where justice was denied, leaving wounds that refuse to heal. When these spaces become haunted, they amplify our primal fears, transforming familiar settings into arenas of existential dread. The combination of historical context, architectural design, and the lingering presence of past suffering creates a perfect storm of terror that resonates deeply within us. At the core of this captivation is the concept of liminality, the state of being on the threshold between two worlds. Haunted places exist in this liminal space, bridging life and death, health and illness, hope and despair. This inherent duality makes them fertile ground for supernatural narratives. Ghosts, as manifestations of unresolved trauma or unfinished business, embody the tension of being caught between states. They serve as reminders that the boundaries we construct, between life and afterlife, sanity and madness, are far more permeable than we'd like to believe. For many, visiting a haunted site feels like stepping into a twilight zone where the rules of reality no longer apply, igniting both curiosity and unease. Architecturally, haunted places contribute to this atmosphere of dread through their design. Long, sterile hallways lined with identical doors create a sense of disorientation, while poor lighting and echoing acoustics heighten sensory awareness. These features mimic the psychological effects of anxiety and claustrophobia, making even mundane sounds, a distant cough, the hum of fluorescent lights, feel ominous. The labyrinthine layouts of older structures, with their hidden wings and underground tunnels, evoke feelings of entrapment and uncertainty. Every corner becomes a potential threat, every shadow a possible harbinger of danger. This environmental manipulation taps into our instinctual fight-or-flight response, keeping us perpetually on edge. Cultural influences also play a significant role in shaping our fascination with haunted places. Media representations, from films like The Shining to television series such as American Horror Story, have cemented the trope of the haunted asylum, courthouse, or battlefield as a locus of horror. These portrayals often blend historical truths with fictional embellishments, creating a mythology that blurs fact and fiction. Audiences are drawn to these stories because they reflect societal anxieties about institutional power, systemic injustice, and the fragility of the human mind. Haunted places become microcosms of larger fears: the loss of agency, the misuse of authority, and the haunting specter of mistakes made in the name of progress. Moreover, haunted places appeal to our desire for catharsis. Engaging with these tales allows us to process our own fears about mortality, injustice, and the flaws inherent in systems meant to protect us. By confronting ghostly apparitions and unexplained phenomena, we externalize internal anxieties, transforming abstract fears into tangible adversaries. This vicarious experience provides a safe outlet for exploring the darker aspects of human existence, offering both thrill and relief. It's no wonder that ghost tours and paranormal investigations of haunted places attract participants eager to test their courage against the unknown. Ultimately, the enduring allure of haunted places lies in their ability to mirror our deepest fears while challenging our understanding of reality. They remind us that the past is never truly buried, that pain and injustice leave indelible marks on both people and places. As we walk their haunted halls, we are forced to confront not only the spirits said to inhabit them but also the ghosts within ourselves, the regrets, doubts, and unanswered questions that linger long after the wounds have healed. In doing so, we find a strange comfort in knowing that we are not alone in our fears, that others have walked these same paths and emerged, shaken but alive, to tell their stories. As we bring this chilling journey through the most haunted Civil War sites in the United States to a close, one thing becomes abundantly clear: the spirits of the past refuse to be silenced. Each creaking floorboard, each whispered name, and each fleeting shadow serves as a testament to lives lived, lost, and lingering in the spaces we dare to call haunted. These stories are more than mere campfire tales. They are fragments of history, stitched together by human emotion, tragedy, and the relentless passage of time. They remind us that the line between the living and the dead is far thinner than we might believe, and that sometimes the most terrifying truths lie just beyond the veil. But why stop here? If these accounts have stirred something within you, a spark of curiosity, a shiver of excitement, I urge you to take the next step. Visit one of these haunted Civil War sites yourself. Walk the same fields where soldiers once fought, stand in the rooms where history's echoes reverberate, and let the unknown brush against your senses. Whether you're a skeptic seeking proof or a believer eager to commune with the other side, these forsaken institutions offer an unparalleled opportunity to confront the mysteries that lie just beyond comprehension. There's nothing quite like experiencing the weight of decades-old despair firsthand, feeling the chill of a presence that defies explanation, or hearing the faint strains of voices from another time. And when you return, share your story. Did you feel the icy touch of a ghostly hand? Hear the faint tap of footsteps in an empty corridor? Or perhaps nothing happened at all. But isn't that silence just as intriguing? Your experiences add to the rich tapestry of lore surrounding these haunted places, ensuring their legacies endure for generations to come. Share your findings with fellow enthusiasts, document your journey, and keep the conversation alive. After all, every whisper contributes to the symphony of the supernatural. Until then, keep your lanterns lit and your courage steady. The spirits are waiting.